Okay, friends, let's continue now in the middle of page, the bottom of Kuf Nun Hey. And the Rebbe is saying this, that Hashem desired the B'tachtonim. So the evidence that this is the Tachtans, because here's the place of punishment. Pashut with Bezdin meets out punishments. And that certainly couldn't happen in the Rebbe's words, B'oir Pnei Melech Chaim. Quite an interesting evidence. In other words, he's the proof that it's Tachtan is not only mitzad the matziv in the world, but the halachic matziv. If here there are onshim, and if there are onshim worse than the other lamaila, then it obviously means that it's not in the revealed presence of the king. This is an all to answer the question. There is no alien and there's no Tachtan for Hashem. The answer was true, but in terms of his revelation, there's drastic differences. Now he's continuing here this onshim, and then concludes that this is what Eibishter desires, is a dira betachtonim, and he contrasted the dira to stam, a bias that a person may own, rent out to others. But the dira is not just a possession of his, but the place where he is manifest and lives. And Hashem's desire is with the Gmasa L'mayla, so 3/4 way down now, Kuf Nun Hey, middle of the page, by the period there, with the Gmasa L'mayla, Shenisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu Liyas Le'dir B'tachtonim. Just like a dir is a place where a person is revealed in his entire being, is undisguised there, is not performing. Again, the essential difference between the home and everywhere else is that the home is about being. It reflects who you are. Everywhere else, you're engaged in some kind of pursuit, in some kind of agenda. That's why you can live in a 7-star hotel, and it's at some point, neurosis will set in because it's just not you. Somebody else's taste and somebody else's choice and somebody else's decoration is beautiful, and it's a wonderful place to visit. But a person, kol misha ein lo dira ein lo adam, whoever doesn't have a dwelling place, is
bias.
That we mean here, the dira is because it's only in the dira that gives expression to the person in the deepest way. And as we explained in the past, that this is dafka in the small things in the house, in the nuance, in the decoration, not in the functional things, because the functional things you have in a hotel room too, a toilet and a bathroom, or in a rented house, an oven and a sink and a door and a window. What makes it your home is dafka, the inconsequential, quote unquote, not practical things. So likewise, it's a very telling point that what makes ourselves and the world a dira for the Eivish as opposed to a bias, as he explains here, is in the details, not the big moments, but dafka the small things, because that's what sets apart the dira from a bias. Hence, the specifics are so critical. At any rate, so the Gmasa L'mayla, Shenisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu Liyas Le'dir B'tachtonim, that his desire is, where should his dira be? Dafka in the Tachten. Shehi nir v'nigla gam ba'olam ha'yesed Tachten b'inyan hester Eidiyas Baruch, that here should be revealed, even in this lowest world. Lowest in terms of what? He just defined low and high. There's no further, there's no closer for God. But lower in terms of where his concealment. That's this physical world. And he goes back to the proof of that. The punishments that are meted out for transgression is dafka has. And that cannot be, he says, just inconceivable, that a punishment takes place where in the presence of the king's revealed presence. Shaila answer coming. Is also in the loftiest worlds punishment. The famous Gemara which we learned, the Gemara in Chagige, that four entered Pardes. So Ben Zoyma died, Ben Azai went mad, Elisha ben Avua became a heretic, and only Rabbi Akiva Nichnas b'Shalom v'Yatsa b'Shalom. You all know the story, some of those famous passages of the Talmud. So the Gemara says, what did Elisha ben Avua see that made him a heretic? The Gemara describes his response as he came out and he chopped down the trees. Remembers the famous Gemara? What did he see? He saw the Malach Matat sitting in Gan Eden, sitting. What we taught that there is no sitting, there's no standing. The deeper meaning is sitting means, when do you sit? You don't sit in the presence of the king. If you have you sit, or the one that would sit in the presence of the king is because he has his own inherent value. If he's totally in awe, you don't sit. You sit if you're also something. So let's let him to conclude that in heaven there are two domains. There's God and there's Matat. So whatever the explanation of Matat sitting in Gan Eden is, the result, the Gemara says that he was cast out of Gan Eden, for he allowed Matat, who was the archangel. He was cast in the text now, Shiro, that Elisha saw, Elisha ben Avua became known later as Acher.
One of those names you're not supposed to announce in full.
We don't. Yeah, that's a whole. I mean, it could be said, but we don't. We all know what the full name is. Yeah. Yeah. One of the reasons is because it's holiness. It's holiness. So we say it like Rosh Tevis, Matat. So the end was here says it in Matat, he spells his name out. Here they threw Matat, that's his full name, the angel, they cast him out, and they struck him with 60 rods of fire. He was given Malchus. Because his behavior was such that it could be and was misinterpreted. So what do we see from here? It's just a shaila. Shaila is, we're saying this punishment Elam has, this punishment Lamaila also. Matat was given 60 lashes of rods, literally, pulsa means rods of fire. And furthermore, Commissioner Kosov, and like the Pasuk says in Eov, Shamayim lazochu be'inov, even heaven is found unmeritorious in his eyes, which means that there's also deficiency and therefore the need for rectification, which is what punishment does. It rectifies even in heaven. So why are we saying that Dafke what? Elam Hazeh is a place of einshin, of punishment, of cleansing, which cannot be done by Hayom. It is done in heaven. That's what Shali is asking. And furthermore, by another pasuk in Eov, Malach of Yosef Tahala, to his angels, he places, Tahala means ridicule. Amazing statement that even the angels are criticized in heaven. So if they're criticized, so that means they're imperfect. That means they've got to be fixed. So there's a punishment. So conclusion is, yes, there is in heaven taka. However, cannot compare, incomparable, entirely the punishment, the cleansing, the rectification that exists here in this physical world. Here we have the most severe punishments in Torah, the death penalty, the opposite of life. He doesn't want to say death, but it's the opposite of life. Chas v'shalom. Shezel mitzah goydel ahel and vehes, that such a punishment that a person should be executed, Rahman litzlan, that can only happen. Shein nida v'nigla oiri yisbarach. Just the whole contention. It cannot happen in a place where godliness is revealed. So this is a place of concealment. Poshet, where godliness is revealed, that would manifest in life and even physical life. So there can't be the opposite of physical life if there's revealed godly life. I mean, symbolically, it's like the Eibishter says, "Oh, you have to do the punishment," but I'm not looking. I can't witness this. But not chas v'shalom, he's not there. But my revelation cannot be there. In this world is the opposite in the light of the king, as he stresses. Chaim, there's life. So there's punishments that the Bezdin gives, Achman Litzlan, which that can't be in the presence of where the Chaim is revealed, where God's life is revealed, that would manifest also in physical life. In fact, eternal physical life. Only reason there's death in the world is because of sin. And why? Because sin banished God, so there was death. But where God's revealed, there cannot be death. I'm saying it's more than just God can't tolerate it. It's not possible where Eibishter is revealed, Hayom, then the result is Hayom on all of its levels. Even physical life is eternal, which is the way it was in the beginning in Gan Eden. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a miracle that they would live forever. Why would they not? The physical and is expression of the spiritual, the living, eternal God is manifest on earth in all of his creations. All of his life, all of creation is also eternal. Death is a corruption of life, not the natural destination of life. It's not the opposite. Why should things get old and die? As we pointed out, it's actually an instruction in the DNA that exists in all things, to age and to weaken, to get old, and it's a corruption. And that'll be rectified, possibly even scientifically, before Mashiach comes. It's conceivable already now. They talk about it, the aging gene. Why? The genes could just easily give instruction to renew. The same way it was, not to get older. It's an instruction to get old. And why is that? Because of sin. Because we severed our spiritual connection, so the net result was a physical weakening. It's a consequence. The emphasis that all punishment, as Chassidus explains, is all consequence. It's not, you did this, now suffer. Now you're going to pay for it. Now you're going to hurt because you did. It's a consequence. Like you eat candies and you get a toothache, you get a cavity. It's a punishment. It's a consequence of too much sugar, etc. Bad physical lifestyle leads to illness, not a punishment, it's a consequence. The same is true of all punishments in Torah, even though the Bezdin physically did it, and it was a trial, but be'emes, but pnimius, it is just merely carrying out the consequence of what happened. Same is true of reward. Reward is also a consequence, not as is in our world. You do something, you get paid money. What's money got to do what you did? Everybody gets paid money. Nothing, because money, you can buy stuff and get things, but not in Torah. The reward is the consequence. You did the mitzvah, connected to God, now you'll experience the connection that you forged. That's the reward. And the hell to pay after death is the experience of what you did, not something else. Just facing what I did. That's the hell. The deep embarrassment and the etc., all the various components of hell. But it's all really nothing other. You're not going anywhere. We don't go, we say go to Gan Eden, go to heaven. We're not going anywhere. It's just, this is what it is. We wrote the script in the Elam Hazeh, we face it, unadorned in its pure truth. And that could be heaven or that could be hell, to quote a famous song. But the end is, for everybody, it's both. The cleansing, and then the good news is that the Avedas are temporary. We face it, we cleanse, we're embarrassed, we burn it through. And then we're left with all the connections. We did it through our mitzvahs, which are forever. That's forever. Sooner or later, we self-cleanse. Some sooner, some later. Let's go further. I just say the Gemara says that the wicked person takes a year to cleanse, to face every machshava dibur ma'aseh. You know, they all leave their marks on the neshama, their blemishes or their barriers to experience Hashem. If you think of it this way, it's like a blemish, a barrier. All the neshama now wants is the emes, the Eibishter. Can't feel God because it said this. I did this, a gewalt, and the regret, etc. That's what cleanses, because we expose it for the nothing that it was. That's the cleansing. So eventually we face everything and cleanse. So the Gemara says a wicked person has been an axe murderer. He's an average person. It can take 12 months. So that's why we stay Kaddish for 11 months. Because Kaddish helps. I'm not going to go into the subject. Why does Kaddish help? What's Kaddish got to do with the Neshama's cleansing? Okay, so I'm not going to go into it. I gave a 6-week course on it during COVID. It's online on Kaddish and life after death, etc. Okay, let's see there if you're interested. Kaddish doesn't even mention the afterlife. There's no mention of the soul even. Not even mention of heaven. So continuing, so Vidavka, second line there on page Kuf Nun Vav, yeah, top of the page.
It's page 14 in the printouts.
Okay. So Dafka, in this world, there is nothing lower with respect to Hashem's concealment, the concealment of His presence, of His light. Here's when the Samakadosh Baruch Hu least a dira. Here He wants a dira, a home, as opposed to a house. Dira daike shebo nira v'nigle b'chol atzmusa. Here He should be revealed in all of His essence. Lagabe gila atzmusa b'hadira. Now, relative to the revelation of His essence in His home, His chosen home, all the greatest manifestations, revelations, as opposed to essence. Even at the highest levels of heaven, if I will arrive at heaven, I'll find you, but still, to be explained. All the greatest revelations are really concealment on His essence. Al derech, no different than if I'll spread my bed in the shoel, in the depth, in the grave, there is you. So that's usually, here's a different touch. Usually this is understood to mean that the essence is everywhere. Here's the opposite explanation. He's saying the highest levels and the greatest concealment conceal your essence equally. When will you be revealed? Only when we complete the mission. She's now going to explain heaven conceals God. What does that mean? Mele the shoel, the depth, the grave, Gehenna, this world conceals Him. But the highest world, that's the comparison. Shamayim, the concealment, the same way Atzia shoel. That's what He's going to explain now. The highest revelations conceal the essence. So let's see. In the Kudus Inyan, actually, even without going further, even in our own world, we can appreciate that, but He's going to go deeper. Blinded by the light. If the light is too bright, you can't see the source because it's too bright. So we're getting a sense of, on the one hand, revelation, but great revelation conceals. But it's not exactly where He's going. It's a more general and more profound understanding. Let's begin the journey. So till now, the Ma'imah, like very often we've encountered this, no? The Ma'imah starts off extremely basic. Everybody heard this 1,000 times. Nothing new, and then boom. A new depth, like a deep dive, a deep plunge, which is beginning now. And the Kudus Inyan, or Nois Dalet. The Kudus Inyan Kimavur Betanya, he says in this explanation of the above, of what? That the greatest revelations conceal you. So this is, as explains in Tanya, Shekachal Britza in his body. So it arose in His will, blessed be He least, that what should cause Him pleasure, when we subjugate the Sidra Achra, the other side, and transform darkness into night. So what is God's desire? He wants His revelation to be in the place of darkness, to be explored. Where's the place of darkness? When will that be realized, the divine intent, and revealed when Mashiach comes? And there was a me'enza means in a what? In some way, this happened already, temporarily, when? When the Torah was given, that's when you showed to know that's it. That Hava Yulikim, revelation and concealment is all him. You showed to know, they experienced it then, Beriya Chushis, with a tangible, with a experiential sight. And that's what the Al-Pasuk is, which this Maimon begins with. Vidat, and you should know Hayom today. We asked, what's the today? Of course, today, Hayom Daiki, because today conveys the inyan of what night and evening and morning. As the Gemara says, that the nature of the world is B'riyasa Shalom is first darkness, and then light. So this is where Hashem desires to be revealed, in a place where Reisha Chashoich, or the result of Reisha Chashoich, the result of the great Tzimtzum. So let's understand all this. So with understanding in of darkness, as it is above, which he said before, that the highest revelations, the Gabe Atzmuse Bahadira, are hell and Vehester, they're all concealment. So what does it mean, darkness above? Above is light. Here it's dark. But up there, answer. Even in the loftiest worlds, there's darkness. The world of Bria, it's called dark. When do we say that? Every day in davening. We're about to say it. Yidua Pirush, as is known, the meaning of the bracha. We praise Hashem and we say, Yoitzer Oir, he formed light of Beire Choshech and created darkness. It's a reference to Eilam HaYitzirah and Eilam HaBriya. Eilam HaYitzirah, the lower world, paradoxically, is called Nikra Oir. That's called light. Eilam HaBriya and Briya, which is higher than Yitzirah, Nikra Choshech. So that's amazing. What does this mean? We're not finished with our question. We say the Mizeh, even Keser, the crown, the highest level, which is higher than the highest world, Atzilos, the Kras B'Shem Choshech is also called dark. Where do we find that? In Zohar. In Maimer, Zohar says, Keser Elyon, the supernal crown of the Eibishter, Al Gav, even though the Yud, Tzach, even though it's a clear and another expression of sparkling light, even though it's a sparkling light, it is dark, kodam ilas in the face of the cause of all causes, or before the causes of all causes. Keser is called darkness, ukam. But on this the pasuk says in Tilim, Yoshes choshech sisrei, he places his secret in darkness, or his secret is dark, is hidden in darkness. Again, the inyan of what? We're talking loftiest levels. And what is the metaphor here? What's the imagery? The imagery is beferish, not light, but darkness. How could this possibly be so? What does it mean? Or bira inyan. To understand the matter, the lochet and movement, not understand. Not understood. Loma nikra elam abriya b'shem choshech. You want a copy? It should be in the front behind you on the table. Even. Okay. Page 14, apparently. So why is elam abriya called choshech? Har elam abriya naila yosem elam yitzira. Briya is higher than yitzira. How can we call Yitzirah light, the world of Yitzirah light? But the matter is as follows. In the world of Bria, there's a very lofty illumination. And it cannot be fully revealed to the recipient. You have to understand what this means, because B'chlal it says that Olam Abriya, Adarabah, that's the higher Gan Eden, where the Neshama sit, and then they benefit from the Ziv HaShechina. Olam Abriya is the world of understanding. That's where the Eibishter's attribute of Bina is revealed, and Bina is all understanding. Atzilus is Chachma, that's the main quality. The main quality of Bria is Bina, the main quality of Yitzira, the 6 Midas. So is not Bria all about understanding, being received in the Mekabel? You understand what I'm asking? He's not addressing it here. He's asking the question. The answer is, I just finished the sentence, it's dark compared to the Mekabel, because as we've learned previously, that Olam Abriya, what's Olam Abriya? Olam Abriya, just in one word, is the understanding of the truth, which is manifest in Atzilus. But at the end of the day, it's only in Seichel. It's only in Seichel. And therefore, the bittul remains bittul hayesh. The starting point is the self. Whereas the Olam Atzilus is bittul b'mitzios, the starting point is Elikus. So Olam Abriya, as we've said, says exactly the same thing that Atzilus says. But the starting point is consciousness. And that's what he means by his galus b'mekabel. It's not bittul b'mitzios, it talks the language, so do we. We're understanding what bittul b'mitzias means. Yichud Yilah, is it galus by the Mekabel, by us? Certainly not, and not even Olam Abriya. Why? Because it's all approaching godliness with the starting point is seichel, understanding. Whereas Atzilus is more l'mayla. It's the objective revelation of godliness. Clear somewhat. That's the difference. So even though it's takio understanding. But that's the thing. It's just understanding. That's the emes. So I'm acknowledging the truth. I still remain separate from it. So it's not bizgalus to the Mekabel. Therefore, the Mekabel is still in darkness. What's the darkness? The yeshes remains. The bittul hayesh. The yesh. Bottle takib, but still a yesh. Yeah, somewhat clear. Gentlemen, the little response. Can you be made somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Continuing, okay, if we don't understand everything, which we don't and won't, we'll go further. In addition to the fact that Bri is called Choshech, because that which it connects to, it's not bizgalus in it. It doesn't experience the truth of Atzilus, the truth of Yichud Yilah. It is itself called Choshech. You can explain what it means by that. Because it's the beginning of creation. The two explanations are connected. Because it's the beginning of creation, it cannot, by definition, lose that and experience the truth from the perspective of Creator. This is the second point. It's the beginning of Mitzias, which is Choshech. And therefore, its understanding will always be extraneous to itself. I understand. Was that clear? Yeah. Now, friends, we've made a dike arichos in Yisavos in creation Yeshmayim, and all of its nuance. So Olam Abriya is the beginning of creation. Yesh, something me'ayin, from nothing. What's the ayin? Ayin doesn't mean no existence. Well, kind of does mean that, but it means no existence in terms of existence. But the likus, no thing. There's no thing. It's No creation. It's elikus. So what's the ayin? And we call it nothing because we can't define it. All we can say is it's no thing. So Olam Abriya emerges yesh ma'ayin. What's ayin? Sho'olam Atzilus. Atzilus is the ayin. Completely beyond. Atzilus belongs to the realm of the Creator. But he is already creation. They are a unbridgeable gulf. Miloshin etzle v'samach. Atzilus is called Atzilus. Why that term? Because it implies, as he brings from the Pardes, nearness. Etzle v'samach. It's near to God. It's the expression of God. That's Atzilus. What is it? Because it's the revelation of that of godliness, that which is latent and concealed. Atzilus is the revelation of God's presence. Mentioned many times, Alter Rebbe could not say the word Atzilus, even write it. Because it's godliness, the world of Torah, purity. Even the definition that exists in the Likus, there's in Atzilus, there's definition, there's Kalim, there's Chochma, Bina, description, Kalim, vessels, means Beruchnius. So surely that is what points to creation. No, Himbalikus, they are godly. He and his causations are one, meaning they're Kalim. Shebchinas ihu. He ba'atzmai himself, he ebishta misyachid, imakelim datzilos, he unites with these manifestations of Atzilos, they're him. Livre behem, to create behem in them, val yadam, and through them, yesh ma'ayin, an existence, bria. Okay, he adds in brackets, this requires elaboration. The next in brackets is the direct quote from Tanya from Megeres HaKodesh Simachov. The Alter Rebbe there states the following, that yesh ma'ayin, to create something fundamentally from absolute nothing, only the Eibishter Atmos can do. We've addressed this point many times. The greatest revelations of Oyer cannot create yesh ma'ayin, for a host number of related reasons, beginning with, you cannot create that which is not you. Oyer, by definition, it's whole, as you explained in the Maimon, by definition is the expression of a luminary. So it's going to create something that feels that it comes from it. Like Oyer feels it comes from Oyer. So it can produce a similar kind of entity like self. You can't produce something that is not within your ken. So the Oyer will produce something like Oyer, which feels the source. Paradoxically, in this world, there's a huge thing in Chassidus, is what he says in Tanya, that in this world, which is mamish, only Gashmis is yesh ma'ayin. Gashmis is yesh ma'ayin. Gashmis does not devolve from light, from Hashem's revelation. You make it finite and finite and finite, it'll never become Gashmis. It's a radical metzias of complete independence. So how does Gashmis come into existence? That's direct investure of Atzmos. And only God can create it because A, God can do anything. And furthermore, this is the salient point, because God has no cause that precedes him, he therefore can create and does create something that feels it has no cause that precedes it. So our sense of complete yeshus independence, which is our downside, really is rooted in the true Yeshu Amiti, the true independent, absolute, not dependent on anything other, absolutely intrinsically there, Atzmos God. It's the Meidedike revelation of Tanya, of Chassidus, blowing everything, completely changing everything. The Eilam Hazard that was looked at as this dark, terrible place, as we learned yesterday. The other day, before Chassidus, the Dafke division, and Dafke Elyon, and Dafke Tachten, and you come down here in order to overcome it and renounce it and reject it, and then a place up there. Bim bom comes Chassidus, Atzmos Dafke Lamat. Dafke Lamat. As we're saying now, this sense that we have, sense of Yeshus, no angel feels this, a little bit. little bit of yeshes. Matat God is, what he was doing was very good, but it was misinterpreted. But denial of God, no level of heaven denies God. Like Pari says, I am, and I made myself. We all walk around like this. Just I am, period. That's all I know. This I am, that we only exist in the Ilam Hazeh begashmius. The Nefesh Bahamis doesn't even feel that. Only when it comes into a goof. This is a corruption and rooted directly in the I am of God. Which is only we say I am that I am. No spiritual creature says that. So only Atzmos can create that which is Kavayochel, like him, with a sense of Yeshus, I am. Or, by definition, which is light and expression, can only produce that which is a lower level of oil, lower level, tzimtzum, radical, but still going to be oil. Okay, we'll stop here to continue tomorrow.